This program is brought to you by the Las Cornelias Historical Foundation.
In a golden arid oasis tucked against the Cornelias Mountains lies the overlooked land of Las Cornelias. For decades, it was a pass-through zone. Train lines ran through it. It was a place the world had crossed off as a windswept, dry, and left behind by developers and planners alike. That was until Thomas Yeetman saw something a bit different. VerdeLink sent Yeetman to check out land just off Route 9. It was a routine site survey for a possible fuel and service stop. His job was simple: check the soil, test the water, and move on. But Yeetman, as fierce as ever, didn't do that. And during one of his final tests, the drill hit something a bit unexpected. "Oil! We struck oil!" one of his crew members shouted. Where he expected to find groundwater, thick black liquid surged from the earth. It was dense, volatile, unmistakable oil. Thomas couldn't believe it, but he didn't wait. He called it in, fast, eager at a chance to finally rise in the company ranks. It was his time, he thought, his way out of the shadows of his family's agricultural empire in Puerto Gato. Back home, Thomas was one who asked too many questions at the dinner table. His brother plowed the fields, his sister worked the ranch, and he read infrastructure reports. This meant more than oil to him. It could finally be a chance to prove himself and make something of his life. But to his surprise, VerdeLink pulled back anyway. The company said it was too risky, too remote, too expensive, not worth the hassle, so they abandoned operations without a second thought. But Yeetman didn't. He stayed, not because it made sense, but because he had to. Then quietly, he filled out a claim, using every cent of his family's inheritance he had left to buy the parcel VerdeLink left behind. He convinced a handful of workers to stay behind and uproot their families, to build something no blueprint could predict. And in that decision, so began Las Cornelias. Word spread fast. Within weeks, people from all over the country, day laborers, prospectors, and dreamers, arrived by the dozens, hoping to stake their own claim in the Golden Basin. Yeetman stepped forward, not because he was ready, but because someone had to. Just Yeetman and a crew who began calling themselves the New Wayvers. Together, they laid out the city's first road off of Route 9. Not all the New Wayvers agreed on what they were building, though. Some wanted industry, others just wanted land. One will later write, "We weren't following a plan, we were following a man." Shacks and sheds went up overnight, families slept in rail cars, and after too many reports of injuries from settlers tripping off moving trains, Yeetman used his funds to build the city's first train station. As Yeetman strolled down the newly paved Wayver Avenue, with the loud horns of the trains zooming by, he wondered if he was building something new or just repeating what he left behind. Still, Las Cornelias began. A city that no one planned, but it planted itself anyway. So in today's episode, we're going to be shaping an entirely new city of Las Cornelias. We'll lay down the first roads, establish essential water and power infrastructure, and define the core districts of what will become a booming desert metropolis. But first, what do you think? Was Yeetman chasing ambition or building something real? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if stories like this speak to you, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on videos like this. There's tons more like Las Cornelias ahead. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive straight in. Hello guys, and welcome back to Las Cornelias. So this is a new city I am starting, and I really wanted to make sure that it felt distinct from my other series of Puerto Gato. Before starting though, I really wanted to research how many American cities found their start, and I found an entire diaspora of original stories. Cities like Pittsburgh were shaped by industrialism, where its steel refineries and rivers made it a shipping and manufacturing hub. Others like Butte, Montana emerged because of their abundant resources of key minerals like copper and silver, which were tied to cycles of boom and bust, labor uprising, and even ecological risk. Even Atlanta, Georgia started as a railroad terminus and evolved into one of the largest transportation hubs in the country, which was central to the economic fabric of the post-Civil War South. Each of these kind of tells us how geography, industry, and conflict shape our towns today. So I wanted my second series to combine all of these, and I particularly found the rise of the oil town the most interesting because of their fragile resource economies. Texas is where that kind of naturally took me. But while I was researching it, I kind of stumbled upon a documentary about the early years of Las Vegas. So in the early 1900s, railroad barons like Andrew Clark sought to link up mines along the route between emerging Salt Lake City and San Pedro, California. Meanwhile, a surveyor named JT Williams wanted to start a city in Las Vegas, and he purchased 80 acres in the desert to kind of build something new. Actually, Las Vegas got its start even earlier than that. Before that, a woman named Helen Stewart owned a failed ranch and used it as a rest stop for all the passing travelers. She continued to buy land nearby, and she was hoping to entice railroad companies because they would need to buy it in order to construct the railroads. This meant that a woman, even that during this time, was one of the largest landowners in the entire region. And that was no small feat for any person at the time, let alone a woman in the early 20th century. So I really wanted to highlight that because it shows an entire new layer of what the founding of a city could look like, especially one in the middle of a desert. So that combination of survival and ambition in Las Vegas's history really inspired me to design Las Cornelias in that same way, with that same fragile and contingent beginning. However, I should say, this is a really heavily modded build to kind of simulate all of this, and I really hope City Skylines 2 eventually integrates all of these functions into the base game. In order to achieve the sandy desert look, we can change the map texture using the map texture replacer mod. We can also specialize in industries like oil using the industry mod to kind of match that start. I'm also planning to use the road builder to create roads that kind of better match this story. With all these tools, we get to explore how history and climate shape not just the city's layout, but its political identity, its economy, and even its values. Also, let me know what you guys think of these historical breakdowns. They are what interests me in urban planning and to this project. But with all that yapping done, let's go ahead and start planning out our power and utilities. So to get started off here in Las Cornelias, the first thing we're going to be starting off here with is power. So in the early days of boomtowns like this one, access to electricity was privately owned and operated by these large extractive companies. So a lot of these extractive things for like things like oil or coal or various other resources were how you got your electricity. Basically, you had to go through this private contractor or a businessman. And so, you know, they needed these reliable energy sources for things like drilling rigs and refineries and eventually their own worker housing. So I think it makes a ton of sense to place it near this location. So if we look here, if we put on our intro views, we can see, if I can turn this on here, that we have a little bit of oil here. And I also looked here, and I think our wind direction kind of suits this here too. Yeah, we can see it blowing in this direction. So I think we should be fine for the time being. I think in the future, we definitely will probably relocate this, but I think this city is going to be kind of small in the kind of initial start, and then we'll kind of sprawl and build up from there. But so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and place a transformer station right here. Actually, we need to do a little bit of terrain work. I'm just gonna kind of smooth this out. This map is a little challenging in that it has some interesting topography. I'm used to Puerto Gato's kind of flatter terrain, so this is kind of challenging. So let's go ahead and smooth it out. Let's put on our oil intro view so we can see that here again. And then I'll just go ahead and pull this terrain all the way down and kind of smooth it out. I'll create some kind of landing pads here, so they're kind of separate parcels almost. All right, we'll leave it like that for now. It's kind of a little bit flatter now. You can't really tell, I guess, but we'll place this here and kind of see how that shapes to it. So I want to make sure I'm not going to place this directly on the oil if I can. I want to try and utilize as much of the natural resource that we have. So I'm going to place this right on the edge here. And now that we got that placed, what I want to do next is go ahead and connect up that with a road to Route 9. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our constant slope mode and just kind of make our way down here. I probably will have to change the topography or kind of fix it up in a little bit, but we'll see if we can kind of cheat a little bit.
Got our terrain all smoothed out, and just for a little bit of extra world building, went ahead and named this to Yeetman Oil Company Road, just to kind of further privatize this area here. So actually, let me go ahead and change this one to Route 9 as well, so we can kind of see that that's not appropriate. And now with our transformer station in place, I need to go ahead and place in those power lines in now. So let's go ahead and get rid of those blinking symbols. I'm going to go ahead and have to use anarchy for this, but we're just going to go ahead and kind of follow the path, and we'll snake behind the river here. And I don't typically like these, but I think this is kind of shaping up nice. It looks really realistic in terms of how an oil town will kind of develop with these huge pylons there. So let's go ahead and look at our water coverage. So I think over here is where I want that to be. As we can see, we got a natural little tributary here where the waters are kind of meeting. So I think this is a natural area where they would kind of collect water, especially in this water scarce area. So let's go ahead and do that right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place in a water pumping station, and we'll just get this right on this river. And then let's go ahead and get this connected up with the road to Route 9. And I won't really mind the at-grade crossing just because the nature of this city, we don't really have to worry about that right now. But especially in the storyline, we're kind of saying that they are kind of like founding it themselves. So I don't think they would really have that. And we don't have to really worry about sewage because this road that I created comes with power, water, and sewage. So we don't have to really worry about that. But I just wanted to kind of have this one. It looks like we got a little bit weird terrain stuff happening. Let me just go ahead and fix that. And I want this entire area to become a small industrial area called the Wayver Works. So let's go ahead and kind of make it a little bit more productive. And I want to add in some irrigation-based agriculture. And I think this is kind of how this was kind of developed in this kind of city as well. So especially with the water scarcity issue that we have. So let's go ahead and kind of split this up with some. I guess I'll do. I don't typically do cotton, so maybe we can do that today. So it looks like we're having some issues with our sewage. So let me just see if I can connect a pipe to over here and see if that kind of fixes it for us. Okay, looks like we're good there. So got that all figured out there. And now I'm gonna go ahead and add in those canals, and let's do something like about 2 units of separation. And we'll just use the pedestrian paths this time. I'll try and get right on the side of this farm. And I'll just go ahead and change the inside of this to quays. We can kind of say that the water pumping station is acting as the, it's how the water is getting from there to there, so. And it'll take some time for that water to kind of fill up there, but let's go ahead and add in the rest of our farms. And I went ahead and added in another canal here, as you can see, but I want to go ahead and delete these pedestrian paths and replace them with some proper surfaces. So the whole reason I placed these was I wanted a good baseline to kind of snap to as we did this. But I think I want to use the riverbed thin and kind of snap to that, and then we'll get rid of the pedestrian path. All right, and I think what we'll do is I want to go ahead and place some surfaces on top of these farms here, just so for a little bit of detail before we leave off, and also add in a couple of additional industry buildings. So we have these amazing new zones from these our amazing mod creator or community, and they have these clean warehouses, and also the manufacturing kind of separated by each type of industry. So I'm gonna place some agriculture and some clean warehouses in these empty little parcels that I've kind of left here. And right now, since we don't have any residents, that industry we don't have any demand, I guess really. So we'll kind of wait for that to move on. But let's go ahead and move on to planning out some of our oil industry. With the city's core utilities online, it's time to think about our industry. And I think there's no other better way to start than oil. And that's kind of where Las Cornelias got its start. So I am going to begin by looking at our info views. If we look right here, we can see we have a huge underground deposit of oil right here. So I want to utilize that. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to place an extractor right here where that oil deposit is, where we have it in our map tiles. So let's just go ahead and go to our zones, and we'll go ahead and looks like we don't have it unlocked yet. So looks like I'll need to unlock oil there on historical start. And we should, if we load back in, we should be good here. All right, we have our oil unlocked now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put our info views back on so we can see. And I'm just gonna try and use as much of this as we can. And because I want this to look very similar to a lot of boom towns, I want to add in one of these pylons as a single drilling derrick. This is kind of what you would see in during the oil boom. And actually, I might place a couple of these. And I think these will spawn as this building levels up. But I just wanted to have a couple of those right now, just to kind of give it the very look of, that Yeetman found the oil here and now they're really going for it. So I think that looks great. I think I want to add in a pedestrian path here to kind of connect these up and kind of act as a service road, even though it won't really be. It'll be this gravel pedestrian path, and we'll just kind of snake throughout here and kind of link all these separate drills up together. All right, and I want to make sure I add in a service road here, just because if we look at our info views again, we could see that there's some more oil deposits there. But I'm just going to add that service alley road in between here, and maybe we can just separate these two oil fields that kind of have two separate lots instead over here. Now I want to place a administrative office building. This is where Yeetman's main office is going to be for his oil endeavors. So I think we're just going to zone in some of our oil manufacturing, and we'll just try to do a 4x4 asset here. All right, I think that is a great first building here. So I usually don't do this, but we'll name this one. Yeah, we're gonna keep that one named as Yeetman Oil there. So got that there. And what I want to do is get a road here, and I want to add in some additional storage buildings for all of the oil that we're going to be extracting here. So I need to do a little bit of grading beforehand. This is my masterclass in grading right now. This is how I'm learning. Did a little bit of grading work here as well, and I want to add in some secondary warehouses as well, even though I know this is all happening because we don't have any residents yet. But I'm gonna have to use find it and just plop those in because it'll be too much whack-a-mole to kind of to do this naturally. And I really like these oil warehouses or storage facilities that we have, but I think I want to add in a service road here as well to kind of get some more of those, add in some more warehouses and other things as such. And I still think these gravel roads are still too formal, so why don't we add some net lanes? So I have this dirt road here, so I'm gonna cover up all of the roads around this facility and kind of add that extra bit of detail. And I think I just want to add a couple more details. So I want to add in a couple more props to kind of flesh this area out a little bit more, and also add in those same those net lanes for in replacement for this gravel pavement that I have. I think this looks pretty good. I added in those paths here to kind of connect everything up, but this is my first attempt at really placing oil in City Skylines 2, and I think this looks pretty realistic. We got a nice variety of warehouses and manufacturers as well. Now that we got our oil field complete, I want to place some secondary industry, and I think this will kind of spur up because as soon as the wells would start producing that oil, you would see an entire second wave of settlers, so mechanics, welders, or truckers, and they would be looking to kind of profit off of their own skills, not just in relation to the boom. So you would see mom and pop shops or people who make clothes start to congregate in the city as well. So I kind of want to designate a industrial area for those. So what I want to do is have a road that comes off of Route 9 here, kind of sharing the same road as the Yeetman oil projects that we're having. And we'll just continue straight here. And what I want to do is have a pretty tight grid that allows for some pretty smaller assets, but pretty dense, and kind of say that the Yeetman, that this land is pretty cheap. So that's why you see so many of these smaller industry buildings here. So what I think I'll do is I'm going to stick to about a 10 by 10 grid for our industrial area. And so I think what I'm going to do is I am just going to zone in some 4x4 depth assets here, and we'll try and vary up the different types of industrial zoning we have. So I probably will do mostly of this industrial manufacturing with these first two here. All right, and it doesn't look the most historically accurate, obviously. I mean, we got these huge factories, but it's more symbolic of what it's supposed to look like, and I think that looks great. So we have the oil field, we have the small industrial area, and I think with all of that done, let's go ahead and move on to plan out some of our road network. For our road network here, I want this to feel very different than Puerto Gato. So Puerto Gato has pretty large scale planning and I overthink everything and they have a pretty straightforward grid. But I want these roads to be a bit more dynamic. I mean, if we look at our terrain, we have quite a bit of hills here. If I can actually find the button to turn it on. Okay, yeah, we have quite a bit of interesting terrain here, especially this is where our city start is, right? As opposed to Puerto Gato, which is a lot more flat. So I'm pretty excited. So what I want to do before I start placing a single home or a single shop is I want to establish the city's point of entry. So I want to start off with the train station that Thomas Yeetman is adding in. So we're gonna place this right here, and I think that's a great place for the heart of our city. So what I want to do is I'm going to delete this track here and just redraw it in, and then we'll also connect up the track here as well while we're in the meantime. Got that all connected, and now I'm gonna go ahead and create a stop here. So we'll create a route from here to here. And I didn't really think this through. I thought this would work as a stop, but what I'm going to do is I am just going to add in a small rail depot, and I'm just gonna have to use find it. So I think what I'm gonna do just to get a little trains is I'm gonna purchase one tile. Even though I know I shouldn't, we're just gonna purchase that one, and we'll get a rail depot. We'll use find it to place it. And I don't really like it kind of tucked away in this corner here, so I'm gonna try and move it closer to the main line, and we'll try and add those connections right about here. And I think that's great. This is something that Yeetman funded, so I think this is going to be the center of the city. So now that we have that station added, I want to go ahead and start placing some of our road network. So I want to place Wayver Avenue first. So what we'll do is I am going to create a custom road that is the same size as a normal 2-lane road. And I think our industrial road that I used in my port area should be about the same, but I want this to feel as if the road is part of the story and its development. So I think that's about close. So I think we will actually just utilize this one. And I'd imagine as the city kind of ages, this road would get paved. So that's kind of what I'm telling here. So I'm kind of using the road builder to show the historical development of this city. So what I want to do next is finish out that road network. So we're gonna get a road that comes from right in the middle here where this train station is. And we'll just continue straight up to about where this mountain starts. We have these two roads here. We have Wayver Avenue, named after the group that's kind of funding the city, and we have Las Cornelias Boulevard, named after the city, of course. So kind of leading up to the core of the city, which is the train station, which I think is pretty cool. So what I want to do is go ahead and lay out the grid for this area here, and we'll stick to about a 10 by 10 grid. So I'm going to start off with a road that kind of follows the terrain here. And now I want to orient all of our blocks towards Wayver Avenue and kind of have those 10 by 10 blocks like I said I did right over here. And this is the road network that we have so far. So I imagine this is our historic downtown, and this is where our workers' houses would kind of formulate, just because of the proximity to the oil houses. And I plan to have some smaller homes here, just because this is where the worker houses is going to be. But I want to plan out where the Wayvers are going to live, and I'm going to place it near the water, just because I want to say that they had first pick of where they were planning out their own homes. So we'll have a road that kind of follows the river here. And now I'll go ahead and start off another grid over here, and we'll kind of have it in orientation of this Founders Road here. And we'll stick to that same 10 by 10 grid. Got all of those grids kind of laid out. Let's go ahead and start zoning in some of our buildings. So we're gonna keep it pretty simple. I'm gonna zone in the southwest pack here, and we're gonna do about 4 units of depth here. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and fix all of our zoning to make sure we don't get on any of these roads here. All right, and we're gonna zone in some pretty small low density housing here. So we'll try and do about 3 by 4 for all of these. All right, I know this looks like a huge row of houses right now, but we'll kind of filter through them and add some more different zoning types. But let's go ahead and go over here. And I think what I want to do is I want to be a lot more particular here. So let's look at the waterfront housing. So I'm going to just zone in some waterfront housing all along obviously the waterfront here. All right, we got all of our founder homes added, and I added in these UK low density detached homes just because I think they add a lot of detail. So we also have these as well, but what I want to do is I want to get rid of all of these fencing. Right now I don't think the landscaping kind of matches, so I'm just going to get rid of some of this. Got rid of those fences. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all of the trees that are in this area as well. So I think for this area, we'll create a custom row of trees, and we'll use something like the Florida palms, the poplar, and let's also do lindens as well. All right, and I don't know if that's too lush, but I think I want to go ahead and recolor all of these houses to kind of have one uniform theme. So I think I want to have something like a terracotta scheme here. So we'll just copy this color and we'll just try and paste this to all of the roofs here. All right, and I think that is our Founders Park. So as you can see, I colored them all to have that same kind of terracotta roof color. I think with all of that, I think I want to do the same thing to this, but we'll stick to this darker roof color for these houses here. Got all those homes recolored, and I also added in a little bit of landscaping as well, just to kind of immerse myself a little bit more. But I think I want to try and recolor some of these trees. I found out that I can do it. So if we can look here, I can just kind of make them look more native to an area like this. So I'm just gonna kind of switch out some of these, as you can see here. Nice. I think that gives it a nice sandy look to it, and now it matches how the shade of how the flora would actually be in this region. But now that we have that done, let's go ahead and move on to planning out some of our commercial and city services. And now with all of our first residents all moved in, I want to think about some city services. So as we can see, we got a couple of blinking icons here, which means we need to place some of those. Think about how our citizens get health coverage and even death care as well. So you would kind of see doctors move into town as well, and so we need to kind of set up shop somewhere for them. So I think right here on Wayver Avenue, on near the oil or the oil yard. I think this is a great location because it's kind of near the worker area. It's away from the founder's residence, and I would imagine that they would want that kind of far away so they don't have to kind of deal with the noise there. And I think I'm going to settle on this UK medical practice because I think it looks more like a home, and I think we could kind of say that this is a family doctor for the time being and kind of upgrade it to be a full-scale hospital. So yeah, I like that kind of thematic progression there. So we'll have that there, and let me see if I can recolor. I don't think I can recolor this, so we'll try and make do with the building that we have here now. And I think the next thing we'll think of is police coverage, and for that, I think I want to place the Mediterranean Police Station. And let's put this somewhere near downtown since this has some landscaping here associated with it. Something like that. And I like these Mediterranean assets there. So I'm gonna see if I can try and recolor this just a little bit. I think that's a nice little color scheme we got.
Next up is fire coverage, and I think we'll settle on this French firehouse, and we'll kind of figure out somewhere to place this. So I think instead of placing this downtown, we'll place this maybe over on the side with the workers instead. So right here at this parcel. Next up is education, and we're going to go ahead and place our first elementary school. And I've settled on this Mediterranean one. I think we're kind of using that across the board. So we'll place this right about here at this parcel. And on second thought, I'm going to place this over here because I think it'll give us more space to expand if we want to add a park.
Added in a little bit of landscaping here. I think that looks pretty nice. And we have these Japanese-inspired textures here. I think these look super cool. So I'm gonna try and stick to those as I kind of detail a little bit there. But added in those landscaping in each of those city services. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of density. And I think right about here, we're gonna make this road that's Dale Lane our main street. And we're gonna go ahead and just zone in a strip of commercial along our main street. And we're just gonna stick to the northeast low density for that here. And I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade this main street to this wider alley we have instead.
And then I'll go ahead and pull all these zone buildings back a little bit off the road to get rid of these symbols. Not gonna lie, I think this looks pretty cool, like using the road builder this way, but got all of those buildings placed. I think what we'll do next is to kind of progress. I'm gonna add in some of this Mediterranean medium density housing here, just to kind of level up a little bit so we can unlock some different zoning types.
So we got all of our medium density housing here. I'm still not sure how I feel about this. I'm gonna leave it for the time being. I think it's still just a little bit too much of a difference there right now, but let's go ahead and finish out the rest of this area here. And I'm just gonna kind of taper it down, maybe to some row homes here, and we'll do the Southwest pack and try to do the same color scheme here.
Next, we need somewhere for our working class people to work. So I think we're gonna place in a bunch of medium density housing. So I'll stick to the same Southwest and Northeast pack that we've been using throughout the area. Jay from the future here. Hi. So my game crashed in the middle of this, so I had to do all of this off camera again. So we're gonna jump back, and I'll make sure to show it in the city tour, just so you guys know kind of what we planned here.
With that finished, I want to go ahead and fill out this area, and I want this to be the workers' housing. So this is going to be the low rent housing. So I'm imagining this is where our city's first apartment buildings are going to be. Just ignore these. These don't exist right now, but this is kind of how this would kind of formulate. So I have been looking at the Eastern European assets, and I think that these would kind of fit right here. And then we'll just place a couple of these on Robin Lane.
And we live in this weird world where there's cars in this settlement. So we're just gonna add a little bit of parking right behind these apartments.
And then I saw CPP do this, but we're gonna kind of angle these and kind of create a kind of trailer park area over here.
Next up, I want to add in a special place, and I'm going to add in the Rockstar Mansion for Thomas Yeetman. We want to give him the best lot in the entire city, so we'll add this special mansion right here. The last city service we need to kind of add is death care, and I think we're gonna add in this UK parish church because I think it'll kind of serve two purposes. It'll cover our death care, but it'll also resemble the close connection that all these communities had with Christianity and Catholicism. So we're gonna place this right here. And to close out our zoning, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to zone in the rest of this strip between Route 9 and Wayver Avenue. And we're just going to kind of differentiate different zoning types. So there'll be some commercial, some offices, some residential. So we'll just kind of put everything here as well.
And that was pretty massive. So we got a nice variety of different houses here. Kind of tried to taper it upwards as we get closer to the core here, but got a lot of buildings here. We're gonna come back and recolor them, and we're also gonna do this park. But let's go ahead and move on to our landscaping and detailing.
So for our landscaping and detailing, I think we're going to start off in this area here that I left kind of purposely unzoned. I think this would be a really cool area to have a park space in these parcels. It'll be a nice way to kind of welcome all the settlers into the area that kind of leads up to this main street here. And this probably won't be the most realistic because I'm probably going to use some grass textures and stuff. But maybe we can just say like they are using copious amounts of like water resources to kind of sell people or settlers who are coming to visit on the town. So for our Founders Park, we're going to start off right here, and I am going to kind of create a cool kind of geometric pattern. I want it to be very wavy as we kind of snake throughout these two parcels. So yeah, we'll kind of snake some pedestrian paths throughout here. So next up, we're going to add in some shade for our residents here, because a lot of cities have something called shade standards. So they require a certain amount of shade by sidewalk length. So that would kind of make or break your walkability in a city. So we're kind of thinking forward for that. So we'll add in those trees with that in mind to kind of give myself an excuse to add in some more landscaping here. But yeah, we'll add in a couple of different palm trees right about here.
Next up, I want to add in some kind of custom emblem here, maybe the initials of the city. I think this is shaping up pretty nicely. So next up, I'm going to go ahead and add in those grass surfaces that I was talking about earlier, and we'll just kind of cover up the entire parcel. And I tried something different here. I did it just around the pedestrian path and kind of trace that. I think I'm just gonna do the same thing over here in at this larger park. Okay, I got a little carried away there with the landscaping, but I think what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go ahead and use the same textures that we used earlier, those Japanese inspired textures, and we'll kind of pull these surfaces back so we can do that and change all these little parks that I added here. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and cover up these pedestrian paths with this texture we have here, and we'll kind of have one cohesive surface for this park here, or I guess a series of them. I might change this central one there that I placed net lane over. I might use the texture we used in other buildings across the town, just to have more of a cohesive theme across the city. Went kind of overboard with the park there, but now that we have that finished there, I'm going to add in a little bit more detail to everywhere else in the city. Make sure all of the buildings are about the same theme here that kind of matches the area. And I'm going to make sure that everywhere just kind of feels like kind of lived in, that this city is about to tell like so many stories, because that's kind of what we're going to do here in Las Cornelias. So let's go ahead and get at it. And what an exciting landscape and detailing that was. So I learned a lot. So we tried to use these more tropical trees around this park. I used these Japanese inspired textures, and I think this looks pretty cool. I think you would really enjoy walking down here. I have this little emblem with the city's initials there. I think that's cool. I also recolored all of the homes here to kind of have one roof theme as well of over here in the workers' home. Um, as we can see here, a couple of those drilling derricks kind of spawned. So I'm just gonna leave my own these pylons here just for the time being, just because I think it adds some more visual interest. But I think that looks pretty cool. I'm really a fan of how the city's coming along, and I'm really happy to, or I'm looking forward to seeing how it kind of develops. Especially because I've always wanted to have a natural progression of where we pave the roads and kind of watch that development. So now with the road builder, we've kind of done that today. So I think that this is a great start for our city. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please stay tuned for other things I have planned for Las Cornelias and Puerto Gato. I think we have a lot of stuff coming up in our series, and I think I want to connect that with everyone. So thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.